A very good morning to you, and many thanks for joining us on today's edition of Political Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Spectrum Television, broadcasting from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. This is the one program that brings you up to speed with the day's biggest news, political stories and events, especially around an electioneering period as Nigerians are bracing up for the next 48 hours when they will head out to the polls for a second time in a space of 3 weeks, this time to elect governors and members of the respective state house of assemblies across the country. I am Raymond Ita. Thanks for joining us today. Well, the one big story making the rounds from Akwa Ibom State is that the All Progressives Congress APC in the state will finally have a candidate ahead of the March 11 showdown. And this comes on the heels of a Supreme Court judgment yesterday in the FCT, which validated and upheld the candidacy of Akan Udofia as the APC gubernatorial candidate ahead of the March 11 governorship polls in the state. But don't forget that former senator and senior special assistant to President Buhari on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itanang, had actually challenged the candidacy of Akan Udofia, which was previously upheld by a Court of Appeal ruling that previously struck out a High Court ruling that dismissed his candidacy on the prayers granted by Senator Itanang, who claimed that Akan Udofia did not have the wherewithal to contest for the APC Guber primaries sometime last year. Well, these are the crux of the issues we'll be focusing on as we count down to the March 11 governorship elections in the state. It's a good news for the APC on paper, but in reality, how far and how well will this aid their cause in the fight to win the Hilltop Mansion come May 29 this year? Join us when we come back from this break. The APC gubernatorial campaign spokesperson in Akwa Ibom State will be joining us live on the program to bear his thoughts on this issue. It's Political Spectrum, and it's live on Spectrum Television. Stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian.
From issues on politics,
hello Nigerians, I remain committed.
Security,
education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Akan
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Akan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Isa Jibrin. Kogi West, carrying Sunday Steve.
The next state is Kwara State. Senator Select from Kwara should get ready then.
Kwara North. Umar Sadiq Suleiman. Umar Sadiq Suleiman. Kwara North.
To his left is Professor Sani Adam, SAN, National Commissioner. To his left is Professor Kole Ajay.
Must you cross? You guys must you cross? Take them out. Take them out. Let them go out. Let them go out.
The next stage after city is Kaduna.
Kaduna North. Kaduna North. Khalid Ibrahim Mustafa. Khalid Ibrahim Mustafa. Kaduna Central. Lawal Adamu Usman. Kaduna Central. Lawal Adamu Usman. Kaduna South. Katung Sunday Marshall. Katung Sunday Marshall. Kaduna North. Khalid Ibrahim Mustafa. Kaduna Central. Lawal Adamu Usman. Kaduna South. Katung Sunday Marshall.
At this point, we will once more
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Political Spectrum live on Spectrum Television. Don't forget, you can be a part of the conversation as well. Just before we close up shop, we'll do well to open up the phone lines and feel free to join the conversation by reacting to any of the discussion we'll be having this morning. But do remember to keep your contributions as civil and moderate as possible. Follow us on all of our social media platforms and follow us on YouTube for live feeds on the program. Just go to our website and search spectrumtv.ng. Well, joining me live on a Political Spectrum studios is the APC Gubernatorial Campaign Council spokesman in the person of Barrister Imok, and he joins me live. Good morning to you, Barrister. Welcome to Political Spectrum.
Good morning, Raymond. Thanks to be here.
Well, you seem quite upbeat and all smiles, and expectedly so, after yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, which upheld the candidacy of Akan Udofia as the APC governorship candidate ahead of this Saturday's gubernatorial elections in the state. It seemed like a ruling a lot of persons expected, so it really hasn't come as a surprise to many, except for the fact that just minutes or hours after that ruling, Senator Itainan held a press conference addressing the world on the outcome of that ruling. Only what he said differs from what we heard from Abuja. You were at the proceedings. Can you just fill us in on excerpts from yesterday's ruling, which, as we know it, has upheld the candidacy of Akan Udofia?
Well, thank you once again. I'm excited, and the generality of members of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State and other supporters, and I think even Akwa Ibom people who've been very expectant and longing to have this distracting episode put behind us, are equally excited. every winner should be excited. Every person who is victorious should be excited. The governorship candidate is upbeat. He's happy that finally, even though he has a few days, he can concentrate and put on some psychological balance and then focus on the polls. So we're very happy, and we believe that this is a precursor to what to expect on Saturday at the close of polls, when we also hope that Akwa Ibom people will troop out in their numbers and cast their vote for the All Progressives Congress. Now, the position of the Supreme Court was quite simple and straightforward. In law, you don't read meanings or seek interpretations to unequivocal and unambiguous pronouncements or statements of law. So it does not require sophistry. It doesn't require any scientific interpretation to understand what exactly the Supreme Court says. Now, for starters, this case started at the Federal High Court with Senator Itainang protesting the outcome of the gubernatorial primaries that saw Okan Udofia emerging tops with I think 1,227 votes. The senator came a distant second with 34 votes at that contest, and he went to the Federal High Court, and luckily for him, the court agreed with him that the primaries was a sham and that a reconduct, a fresh primaries was ordered, and curiously asking that Okan Udofia be excused from participating in the reordered primary, that he was not even a member of the APC. That decision was challenged very vigorously at the Court of Appeal, and on the 19th of January 2023, the Court of Appeal gave a decision quashing that of the Federal High Court, and in fact saying that the proceedings of the Federal High Court in its entirety were a nullity. The court had no jurisdiction to hear the matter in the first place because the processes filed were incompetent. You know, Senator Itainang was not satisfied with the decision of the Court of Appeal, obviously, and so appealed to the Supreme Court. And that culminated in the judgment of the Supreme Court yesterday. What the Supreme Court stated quite simply is that, first of all, Okan Udofia is a member of the APC. Secondly, that the waiver granted to him by the National Working Committee of the party, which allowed him to contest the primaries in the first place, was an internal affair of the party, and the party was well within its rights to give the waiver. And that having contested and won the primaries, he was validly elected as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress. That is as simple as that. And then, of course, went further to say that the appeal of Senator Itainang collapsed because it was a mere academic exercise, a waste of time, judicial time. Yeah,
you initially said when he filed the case at the Federal High Court, it was, as you put it, the processes were incompetent. Was this in reference to challenging Okan Udofia's membership of the APC, or because he had cited irregularities in the primaries that were held? Which of this is the real crux here?
You see, at the Federal High Court, a lot of issues came up. Itainang said that Okan Udofia was not a member of the APC, and so therefore ought not to have contested the primaries. But having contested the primaries and scored whatever number of votes he got, those votes should be discarded, and then he, as the runner-up, be reckoned with as the winner of the election. But that if the court does not agree with that position, the court should declare that the primary was a sham, because according to him, he protested the conduct of the primaries and he was never allowed an opportunity to appear before the governorship appeals panel set up by the APC. Now, you see, in the same breath, Senator Itainang also filed another case in court, deposed to an affidavit and said, oh, even though I wrote a petition to the appeals panel of the governorship primaries, I actually appeared before the appeal panel and defended my position, my petition. Now, he made these two statements under oath, two contradictory statements, which are clearly a perjury, lying under oath. And this is documented, this is recorded. The Court of Appeal said the lawsuit was incompetent, not just because of the claims, but because the processes the documents filed failed to meet the elementary standards of the law. And so therefore, whatever was said at the Federal High Court was a nullity. And the Court of Appeal went ahead to expunge everything that was said at the Federal High Court. The meaning is that as of today, there is no record for the proceedings that were carried out at the Federal High Court based on the Court of Appeal decision and the Supreme Court's decision. The Supreme Court's decision is 100% affirmation of what the Court of Appeal said. And for starters, or for emphasis, the Supreme Court said, Akan Udofia is a member of the APC. That is an internal party affair. He was granted waiver. That is an internal party affair. In addition to that, he won the primaries conducted by the National Working Committee, having polled the highest number of votes, and his name submitted to INEC. The responsibility of submitting names of candidates of parties to the Independent National Electoral Commission is that of the National Working Committee of the APC. And that is exactly what was done. So the Supreme Court is saying that whatever it was that was in contention before now has been laid to rest. And it's as simple as that. Now I've heard another skewed narrative from Senator Itainang. And in fairness to him, I think any other person in his position, having labored so hard through all the wrongs of the judicial process and then coming home empty-handed, as it were, sometimes you have this shock which you didn't anticipate. So out of that situation, we hear Senator Itainang say things that are not entirely true.
One of the things he said in the course of the excerpts from his press conference was that the Supreme Court ruling only upheld that Akan Udofia was or is a member of the APC, but did not in any way uphold his candidacy for the gubernatorial elections coming up this weekend. Or some would say this is just mere gimmicks employed by Senator Itainang to save face, perhaps, after smarting from the defeat of yesterday's ruling. But for those out there on the street who do not understand legal interpretations of judgments such as this, is there anything different from what the Supreme Court gave yesterday and the excerpt from Senator Itainang's press conference? Because he seems to tell the whole world that, he is still the candidate of the APC going into Saturday's elections and not Akan Udofia, which has led to questions as to whether INEC has updated its portal by uploading the name of Akan Udofia as the candidate of the party. As of this morning, when I did check myself, it's still a blank space there. What would you say to that?
Now, it's unprofessional. Senator Itainang is a senior lawyer. I know that seniority at the bar doesn't naturally or automatically translate to knowledge of the law. So some of the things he has said may be excused. Now, it is wrong for Senator Itainang to seek to add color or take away color from an otherwise very clear position of the law as pronounced by the Supreme Court. I wonder why the Supreme Court will say, Akan Udofia is a member of the APC, and then stops at that. Whereas the issues in contention, the three issues Senator Itainang took to the Supreme Court, were the issue of membership of the APC, of Akan Udofia, that of the primaries, and then the issue of waiver. And these three issues were resolved against him. You see, the Supreme Court is not an idle institution. You don't go to the Supreme Court and expect that even when your case is unmeritorious, you have the court making pronouncements in your favor. It is only Senator Itainang, in fact, who has come out of the court now to begin to address the press and then impute into the judgment of the Supreme Court what was not said. In fact, I've held in some quarters that Senator Itainang says, the Supreme Court's decision even validates part of what the Federal High Court said. And if the Court of Appeal nullified the proceedings of the Federal High Court and the Supreme Court affirmed the decision of the Court of Appeal, how logically possible is it for the Supreme Court to go around and validates a position of the Federal High Court. So that is a legal and logical impossibility. Now, what has come to play out from what we see is, first of all, Senator Itainang is showing to the world that he is not a good sportsman. He is not a good sportsman. In this contest, you must expect losses, you must expect wins. You win some, you lose some. It is not expected that at every point in time, you would win all through the processes. It has also shown clearly that by his utterances, Senator Itainang has other motives other than being a patriotic party man. Now I'm talking about membership of the party. Senator Itainang ceased to be a member of the APC since June 2023, having been expelled from the party, and that expulsion ratified by all the wrongs of the administration of the APC.
He claims no such letter was served on him.
It is not a claim. It is not a claim. He is contesting that expulsion in court. But that expulsion remains since the 20th of January 2023. In fact, supposing by any stretch of weird imagination that the Supreme Court has said, well, APC, can you go back and have fresh primaries? Senator Itainang will not be eligible to contest that primaries because he is no longer a member of the APC. And it is because he knows that he is not a member of the APC. That is why he's making these disparaging remarks to demarket the APC in favor of whosoever he believes should win the election, which is the basis in the first place upon which his expulsion was hinged. The fact that he was carrying out anti-party activities, having nocturnal meetings with other opposition parties, undermining the position of the All Progressives Congress, both in his local government and in the state. And we see that continuing even with the things he said. On the 5th of July 2022, when Senator Itainang, after he had lost the primaries, he went on Arise Television and said, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State, Obong Stephen Leon Turikbo, is the chairman of a club in the APC. That is what he said. The videos are there. But you see, as at March 17th, when Obong Turikbo was pronounced by the courts as the chairman of the party, the first person from Akwa Ibom State who hosted this chairman in his residence in Abuja was Senator Itainang. So what changed in between when the Obong Turikbo was pronounced as chairman and July, when Itainang lost the primaries of the party? So each time an event occurs and it is unfavorable to Senator Itainang, he makes disparaging remarks. Supposing this judgment had gone in his favor, supposing the Supreme Court had made a categorical statement to say, Obong Okanima Udofia, in the eyes of the law, you are unknown as a member of the APC, would Senator Itainang be saying the things he's saying? Would he be saying that the Supreme Court did not pronounce that Obong Okanima Udofia won the primaries of the party, when it is clear and evident that indeed Senator Itainang lost the primaries of the party woefully? Senator Itainang couldn't have won the primaries of the APC. He got a paltry 34 votes. Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Does it seem like the fact that Senator Itainang, yes, having lost out on the primaries, decided to pursue, or rather lost out at the Court of Appeal, decided to pursue this case further right up until the Supreme Court, because perhaps the leadership of the APC did not extend the olive branch to him as did to the other candidates who also vied for the gubernatorial ticket in your party? It seemed like he was more or less singled out, you know, for some sort of persecution, because some have said what informed the choice of the party to expel him from the APC on the mere premise that he decided to challenge the appeal court's judgment at the Supreme Court. I mean, that's something that every Nigerian has a right to. The allegations of having nocturnal meetings with members of the opposition parties in the state or being involved in anti-party activities are claims that he has insisted were made up just to shove him out of the party.
Well, you see, the primaries of the party in May had about, I think, about 7 aspirants. And out of the 7 of them, save for the winner, only 2 people went to court. Mr. Austin Utuk went to court. Senator Itainang went to court. A few weeks ago, Mr. Austin Utuk withdrew his appeal at the Supreme Court and said, in the interest of the party, he has rights just like Itanan has, just like any of us have, to pursue his case to whatever extent. But in the interest of the party, he decided to withdraw and close ranks with other candidates of the party to forge ahead and then confront the common opposition as we move into the elections. Now, these have happened because from the beginning, the party had initiated steps to reconcile aggrieved members, and that has been massively successful in dousing tension, in assuaging and trying to reach out and ensure that we are all on the same table. And I can confirm that several of such overtures have been made to Senator. In fact, on the last count, the elders of the party, led by no other person than a retired judge of the High Court of the state, led a team of stakeholders to plead with the distinguished senator to sheath his sword and come team up with the candidate of the party. He blatantly refused and said he didn't recognize the fact that Udofia. And you see, this is distinct from the position of the National Working Committee of the APC. You can't be working at cross purposes with your party and then you claim to be a party man. The president-elect Asiwaju was in Uyo for the campaign. Senator Itanan was not there. He has not attended any campaign event of the APC in Akwa Ibom State from the beginning. So it just shows that he has his interests somewhere else, and this is playing out. It is not true that he was expelled from the party because he went to court. No, that is not, because that's a constitutional right. He was expelled from the party for failing to adhere and obey lawful directives of the party and engaging in anti-party activities.
There's some who would equally posit that for a man who is alleged to be engaged in anti-party activities, it is credited to Senator Itanan in some quarters that he has actually been a good standing member of the APC for some years, since he's defection from the People's Democratic Party, and has, held sway, helped to nurture and maintain the party in the state until most of the bigwigs that we have today eventually joined the party. So perhaps he's feeling aggrieved that he's been schemed out of things despite helping to maintain and sustain the party in the state.
Senator Itanan joined the APC because he lost out of contention to contest Senate in the 2015 elections and decided to join the APC out of protests. And Senator Itanan to date is the sole and first beneficiary of the Muhammadu Buhari administration, having been appointed as Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly matters, barely few weeks after pitching tents with the APC. Of course, he came and met other people in the party, other illustrious sons of Akwa Ibom State and daughters of Akwa Ibom State. He came and met some of us in the party. I have been in the opposition prior to even 2007. So he joined the APC in 2015 and cannot become a foundation in a house that he came to meet. The house has been in existence, and he only picked one room in the comfortable apartments of the building to occupy. So there are several other people who continue to work for the APC. And if you are a stakeholder in the APC, you must continue to join hands, join forces with other stakeholders, and ensure the success and the smooth operations of the party. No responsible house owner or homeowner would use his own hands to tear down what he has built. What Senator Itanan is doing is basically trying to pull down the roof on the rest of us. And that is irresponsible, to say the least. That as a senior lawyer, you go about giving different, varied, skewed narratives to an otherwise clear judgment of the Supreme Court. That is very unprofessional. And like I said, it has nothing to do with your longevity or years, or many years at the bar. It has a lot more to do with wisdom. It has a lot more to do with discretion. And what Senator Itanan has done so far is crass indiscretion, and it's being stretched to the limits. And it is good that members of the public and members of the APC understand that these gimmicks are tailored towards giving the opposition an advantage. You cannot be saying the kinds of things you're saying few hours to an election, a critical election, an election that is going to be deciding the fate of Akwa Ibom people probably for the next 4 years. And you're making the kind of statements you're making when it is known to be false. So I think we've read through all of that. And we understand all of this to be a ploy to demarket the APC, and we're taking them in stride. Granted that negative news flies very fast, but I'm sure you've made mention of the INEC portal. I'm sure INEC was represented in court yesterday. They've always been in court. The senior advocate of Nigeria, who represented the commission, Al Hassan Umar, I'm sure has conveyed the decision of the Supreme Court to the commission, and I am certain, I can tell you that the APC will be on the ballot. The elections of Akwa Ibom State for March 11 will not be complete. In fact, will be inconclusive if for any reason the APC is excluded. The Supreme Court's position on the issue of publication of names is, once a political party submits the name of his candidates, being a candidate who emerged victorious at his primaries, that cannot be enough to withhold the decision of the commission to publish his name.
Even if there are discrepancies cited in the leader.
There is no discrepancy. This is the decision of the Supreme Court. There is no discrepancy. Thank God Mr. Mike Igini, who instigated and initiated all of these controversies, is no more. Well, at least he's no more in office as a resident electoral commissioner. If he's in Akwa Ibom State, then he's a guest doing some other thing. But at least he is no more. Because you see, that is where it started from. One of the documents Itainan has been relying on is the fact that, Mr. Mike Igini issued a report of the non-monitoring of the primaries of the APC. And the report was issued in respect of an alleged APC primaries conducted at Sheer Grace Arena, a social event center, somewhere else in the city of Uyo, rather than the official authorized approved venue at number 6 Upholds Street. So while Itainan is parading a report that purportedly said the primaries was held or ought to have been held at Sheer Grace Arena, he participated in the primaries held at number 6 Upholds Street. So you see the contradictions. You see the deliberate attempts at falsehood, the deliberate attempts at hoodwinking gullible members of the public just to see the bad side of what the APC is not. But I am sure that in the next few hours, all of those issues will be strengthened. Documents speak for themselves. Documents speak for themselves.
I know you may not be so concerned with what happens within other political parties. You're a spokesperson of the APC, but I'd like to draw comparisons with the case of the People's Democratic Party with respect to your initial statements that so long as a political party submits the names of its candidates to the electoral umpire, INEC, it is duty-bound to respect that. In the case of the PDP, well, following their primaries, the name of Pastor Moino was submitted to INEC as the substantive candidate of the PDP ahead of this election, but that primaries was challenged in court on several grounds by 2 of the aspirants who also contested alongside with him in that primary, so much so that it took a Supreme Court ruling to validate his candidacy by one of those who had challenged him with reference to Honorable Mike Ayong, or rather a Court of Appeal ruling with reference to Honorable Mike Ayong, even though the PDP had clearly submitted the name of Pastor Moino to INEC, but we still had those cases. So I'd like you to respond as a legal practitioner here and someone who understands the tenets of the law. In that case, do you think that those who had challenged the emergence of Pastor Moino as a candidate to the PDP, even though it was the PDP who forwarded his name to INEC, had erred? If they did not, then what would you say with reference to your own case? Because this seemed like 2 striking cases of similar consequence. The party is sending the names of their preferred candidates to the INEC, but yet there are persons challenging these decisions on different grounds, citing different reasons. You have said there were no discrepancies in your elections. In the case of the PDP, there were discrepancies equally cited. But your position for that of the APC is that as long as it is your party who sent the name to INEC, INEC is duty bound to respect that. So my question is, are there no provisions within the electoral guidelines that actually stipulate that should there have been irregularities cited in the primaries, then it is enough to be challenged in court. And perhaps that informs the decision of having INEC monitor these elections in the first place.
Well, you're right. INEC will be duty-bound to accept nominations or nominees as candidates of political parties where there are no challenges and there are no court orders, affirmative court orders or injunctive court orders saying otherwise. In the case of the APC, there is no court order anywhere that said Akan Udofia is not the candidate of the party, except the decision of the Federal High Court, which was discountenanced by the Court of Appeal, which has also been affirmed by the Supreme Court. So there is no other decision anywhere which says, in fact, there is no decision that says Senator Itainang is the candidate of the party. No, not even by reference. There is no decision anywhere which said Senator Itainang, of course Senator Itainang could not have been the candidate of the party having scored 34 votes. He couldn't have been the candidate of the party. So there is no such decision. But if you want to place us side by side with the PDP, yes, the first lawsuit against the emergence of the candidates, Mr. Moino of the PDP, bordered on whether he went to school or not, because there was this story about parading multiple examination results, WAEC, parading multiple birth dates. I think he was able to wriggle free of those through technicalities and all of that. You know, they say the law is an ass. But there was a subsequent case, which is that of Right Honorable Engineer Michael Young, where the Federal High Court said he was the candidate of the PDP. And for that reason, I think INEC also rectified its records on the portal and reflected his name. That has been upturned by the Court of Appeal, you know. But I'm also aware that Mr. Young is on appeal to the Supreme Court. And then the PDP has also filed a cross appeal, you know. And in respect of that cross appeal, the PDP is saying you must make an affirmative and positive pronouncement saying Mr. Omoino is the candidate of the party. Without that pronouncement being made, because you see, you have competing pronouncements, even though one has been overtaken by the Court of Appeal decision. Now that we are the Supreme Court, except you have that affirmative final pronouncement on the outcome of that primary, there are going to be doubts, and there are actually doubts as to who exactly is or who exactly is not. So Mr. Michael Young will continue to lay claims, you know, to being the candidate of the party, but the courts will decide that. But you see, the issue of the PDP even goes beyond what happened in its primaries. I mean, the Electoral Act is very clear. Section 84, subsection 14. Only aspirants who participated in the primaries of a particular political party can complain. It is not in INEC's place to, on its own, what the Latin calls suo motu. It is not in INEC's place, suo motu, to raise complaints, even though section 84 subsection 1 says it is mandatory for INEC to monitor. In our own case, even though it was mandatory for INEC to monitor, you monitor the primary at the venue and time and date supplied by the party. You don't monitor the primaries at a venue and date and time of your choosing. If I give you venue A and you decide that you have people in venue B that you are friendly with, like happened then on May 26 in Akwa Ibom State with Mr. Guinea, then you are on a frolic of your own. In fact, in the judgment of the Federal High Court, Justice Mwite said the action of Mr. Guinea was contemptuous of the decision of the Federal High Court delivered on March 17, which pronounced have been instigated by INEC. I've said that before. But in that of the PDP, it is about aspect whether he won the primaries or not. The issues, the greater issues, are the fact that this election will boil down to an issue of we in the APC are confident that we have a governorship candidate that has no stain, that has no in fact, my governorship candidate will tell you that in his entire life he has not written a retinue of senior advocates of Nigeria just to prove that he went to others who are even contesting elections against their own personal integrity. You have them all over the place. So Akwa Ibom people would have to look at the trajectory, the narratives, the personal credentials of all of the people who want to rise to the exalted position of governor. We can't be having a governor who goes to attend meetings in either Abuja or he's before the international community trying to close deals on behalf of the people of the Akwa Ibom State, and people begin to see you through the prism of very negative records. It affects the psyche of not only the citizens, but it also affects the discharge of your functions and responsibilities and duties as the chief executive officer of the state. Okay. Like an upright servant, we all must be above board. That is what it boils down to, an integrity test.
Let's come down now to the core politicking, because in over 48 hours, Akwa Ibomites are expected to head out to the polls to cast their votes for any of the candidates who would be vying for the Hilltop Mansion, including your candidate, whom we've talked about in the last 40 minutes thereabout. There have been insinuations in the lead up to yesterday's ruling that there could be some supposed merger between your party, the APC, and the Young Progressives Party, YPP, in the state. We've reached out to the YPP. As a matter of fact, we had a spokesperson of the party yesterday join us, and he has dismissed such claims that there was likely going to be any merger between the APC and the YPP. The author of that information had claimed that your party had made overtures to Senator Bassey Albert to step down for Akan and Udofia, citing the conviction of Senator Bassey Albert by a High Court ruling, which indicted him of corruption. I don't know if you've equally been informed about this, and is there any iota of truth to these rumors?
Well, if there are rumors, then there must be accorded the treatment rumors would deserve. But speaking authoritatively and officially, I'm not aware of such overtures, either to the YPP or any other political party for that matter. Our stance has been to maintain an open door policy, just as we appeal to Akwa Ibom people and other fair-minded individuals to team up with us as we push the shared prosperity message of our governorship for Akwa Ibom State. We expect that if there are political parties, if there are associations, if there are groups who are desirous of a buy-in to what we're doing, they are free to join us. We are not insistent on any particular group or particular political party, and the APC definitely is not going to go into an alliance with any political party. We are not going cap in hand begging people to come. If there are political parties whose candidates have technical or legal deficiencies around them, which are likely going to affect even their candidature or the outcome of polling, and then they desire some kind of safe haven. Well, the APC is an open place. We are progressive-minded people. Our aim is not just taking over power from the Hilltop Mansion as governors of, or governor of Akwa Ibom State, but ensuring that we can translate our plans into concrete realities for Akwa Ibom people, and we will not negotiate that on any altar of political expediency. I've heard stories, I've also read in the social media where people have pushed arguments about the legal difficulties the candidate of the YPP is most likely to face. I don't know how plausible that is within the context of constitutional provisions. Yes, he's a convict. The fact that he's on bail does not abate the sentence. Yes, he's a convict and he's on bail on held grounds. In fact, I've also recently heard that in Lagos State, other respondents, defendants who were charged under the same circumstances linked to the same person, Jide Omokore, have also been jailed. Some have entered into plea bargain and have been made to make payments, but by and large, they are basically convicts. And then, surprisingly, the same Jide Omokore is still running free, but every other person associated and linked with that transaction at the time is facing a prison sentence, is facing some kind of conviction. So if on the basis of that, people feel that they can appeal to reason well, fine and good. We really don't see such an alliance with the APC as being as having any direct impact. Yes, it will swell our ranks, but even beyond that, we still expect that the APC should be able to make a good showing on March 11.
Well, that's the concern here. I know we've talked about this severally, and you have said, aside going out for maybe the kind of normal campaigns that has been the tradition of Nigerian politicking over the years, you still do not feel perturbed by the fact that your candidate has not really had the opportunity to go around the entire state as others may have, but you've equally deployed other means to inundate the public about your messages of prosperity and what you hope to do should you be voted in as governor of the state. But with 2 days to go before the elections and people only just realizing that the APC now surely has a candidate for the March 11 polls, compared to what the other two parties, the two major parties in the state, or the two other major contenders now have done, with reference to Pastor Moyne of the PDP and Senator Bassi Albert of the YPP, it appears that the APC has a lot of ground to make up on these two parties. That's the reality on ground. You may want to shy away from this, but don't you feel it could equally hamper your chances of success at the polls? And perhaps that's why that may have informed the choice of the author of that information or that post to claim that there could be some measure between these two parties, because the sole aim here seems to be to defeat the People's Democratic Party. Doesn't matter which opposition party gets to the Hilltop Mansion.
Well, like I said, the APC is insistent that it would make a good showing at the polls and would come out successful, would come out tops at the polls. Yes, it is true that we have not made as much noise, you know, as all the other political parties or the other political parties have done, but we have made quite an impact. In fact, when we sit back to appraise the things we've done, one of the things we use to measure that is the desperation of the PDP. This is a party that has been in power since 1999. And you see that the things they do give the impression that they are acting like a party that is going to the polls for the very first time. You know, Governor Babangida Aliyu, former governor of Niger State, had said once that, look, he's surprised, and of course he's still a member of the PDP, he said he's surprised that whenever the PDP is confronted with the ballot, they become jittery. So even if you have to have an election every other month, you're going to have the PDP very jittery. So you have the PDP in Akwa Ibom State very jittery and very desperate. How do I know that they are desperate? Because they are doing the kind of things that are unheard of in the political history of the state. For the first time, you have the campaign billboard, full photograph of the governorship candidate of the party adorning the pulpits of churches. You have samples of ballot papers with the logo of the party being taken around churches. You have party agents running around the churches giving refreshments, and we hear, I haven't seen, but we hear that the Christian bloc that is called Fathers of Faith also got huge amounts of cash allocations. And that probably must have led to the other bloc of the Fathers of Faith having rival anointing services for rival candidates. The candidate of the PDP is a beneficiary of one of the anointings of the Fathers of Faith, and then the candidate of the YPP is also a beneficiary of anointing of another block of Fathers of Faith. And the argument is that, oh, in the sharing formula for the money given by the governor, there has been a disagreement, and so they have decided to go their separate ways. So you see that the desperation. And then look at even the rice. You know, we have this contaminated rice that is being shared and distributed across the state from the PDP. I have seen samples of them. We have collected large samples. We have made a public statement asking that the World Health Organization, National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, and even the World Health Organization should come and take a look at the samples we have obtained from the rice. As far as I'm concerned, these are poisoned and contaminated food products being fed to our people in the name of politics. And in fact, there is a school of thought that says that these are the 510 bags of rice or part of the palliative that were given by the federal government in the year 2020, you know, that were stashed away somewhere and are now being exhumed, you know, just for the purpose of luring gullible voters. You know, they are giving rappers, they are giving all sorts of things, especially smarting from the outcome of the last election.
Not meaning to pause you there. We've equally had reports about this. As a matter of fact, we've had confirmation of the disbursement of these contaminated food items. Only, of course, we cannot come out to lay claims to which political party was largely responsible. But from our on-the-ground investigation, we seem to have discovered that virtually every political party is culpable and guilty of this. Another means of vote trading and vote buying, especially in the face of cash scarcity occasioned by the Naira redesign policy. Most political parties, if not all, have resorted to distributing food items to their supporters in the hope to woo them to vote for their parties and their candidates ahead of this election. Isn't that something the APC has equally done with respect to the National Assembly and presidential polls on February 25?
Well, I'm not aware that the APC is giving out contaminated rice.
Maybe not contaminated, but maybe you've also given out food items.
Like the PDP is doing. I'm not even aware that the APC is giving out food items. You know, you see, just like you've said, you said the APC, the public opinion is that the APC is not doing enough. You see, we are not desperate because Akwa Ibom people, in fact, our belief is that even if you give for every household, you give a truckload of contaminated rice, we know where we will cast our votes on March 11th. You can't deliberately run a government under a policy, whether rightly or wrongly, of impoverishing the people. And on the eve of election, you come up with rice. I mean, what stopped anybody from giving us rice 2 years ago? What stopped anybody from bringing out rice 4 years ago? What stops you from even providing the environment, you know, that makes it possible for people to engage in profitable farming, whether for sustenance or for commercial scale? Why wait until the eve of the elections to begin to do cash transfers? You have pensioners in this state who have not been paid in their numbers. And rather than pay them, we have had the governor mocking them, telling them, oh, if you want to go on street protests, I should be the protester in chief because my own mother at home has also not been paid her pension. That is on record. You have students of Akwa Ibom State extraction who have not been paid their bursaries for 8 years. They have not been given any form of scholarship, no form of motivation to go to school. You have civil servants whose conditions of service and work is nothing to write home about. And these are the things we are coming to address. This is also a large chunk of the voting population. And there is no amount of contaminated rice that you take to the state secretariat that will change the fact that these people have known you with a history of callousness, with a history that you have no business, you have no interest in ensuring, looking out for their welfare. The pensioners know, as they continue to wail and then complain, and some of them die, some of them become infirm, and there is nowhere to run to. Those who have served the state in their youthful lives and energies and yet have been laughed to scorn by a government that is using state resources to impoverish the people. When they approach the ballot box, no matter how much contaminated rice and wrappers and cash transfers you send, they know where to cast their vote because there is a memory of bitterness that they've been accustomed to all through the 8 years of the life of this administration. I wholly open that there. We're going to take a very short breather. When we do come back, the final slide of the conversation will continue. We'll talk about the prosperity mantra of the APC Guber candidate as well. While we're taking your reactions as well, feel free to ask questions. Barrister Mokban might tend to a few of them just before we wrap up. Stay with us, Political Spectrum. We'll return.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by
grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord. I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. It's Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. Don't forget, you can watch us on Start Times DTH Channel 421 from wherever you are joining us from across the country, the west coast of Africa. And of course, for live feeds, you can join our YouTube channel. Just search spectrumtv.ng. You can also join the conversation by reaching out to us on the numbers displayed on the screen. But don't forget to keep your calls, your comments, and your contributions as moderate as possible when you join in. We've been talking to Barrister Mokban, is a spokesperson, APC Gubernatorial Campaign Council here in Akwa Ibom State, and we've been following up on the Supreme Court's ruling yesterday that upheld the candidacy of Akan Udofia as the candidate of the APC ahead of the March 11 governorship elections in the state. And this has laid to rest all of the hullabaloo that trailed the reports that the APC may not have a candidate for the governorship election. All of that has been laid to rest now. So now that we know the APC has a candidate, we've navigated through the nitty-gritty of the cases and every other related issues. Here's the main fix now. What would the APC do different if they come into office come May 29? That's if you win the March 11 governorship election. The prosperity mantra has been pushed in and around the state on billboards, messages via the social media, as well as terrestrial media as well. But there are some persons who would say this could just mean the APC wanting to transform the state. But how well do you intend to do so? What's the blueprint on ground that will be different from the nearly 16 years of the PDP that we've had so far in the state, and perhaps different from what other political parties have equally inundated the public about? Because I like to believe that that is what will play on the minds of the voters when they get to the polls. Some parties are preaching the Arise agenda, others are preaching bringing governance down to the grassroots. You're talking about a shared prosperity. I'd like you to fill us in on the nitty-gritty of this mantra.
Well, I've said earlier that this contest is going to boil down to an integrity test of the leading contenders. And the integrity test will be translated to mean whose account will you believe? Between Mr. Moino of the PDP and Senator Basi Albert of the YPP, and then the candidates of the NNPP, Senator Odoidere, and the candidates of the All Progressives Congress. Whose account is believable? Whose account can we take to the bank? Whom amongst these people can we trust? As far as I'm concerned, for the PDP, it is the tenure elongation agenda. Because when you find the PDP say we are going for continuity, whatever it is Mr. Moino says cannot be divorced from what Mr. Odom has said and done or not done. So that's clear. But for all the other aspirants or the other candidates, which of them can you believe? Now, for us in the APC, we have a track record of service delivery. of personal integrity. Mr. Udofia has had a rich background in business development from scratch to the zenith. And this is the experience we're bringing to bear in the things we say we will do, because we have, in very practical terms, demonstrated not just possibilities, but the fact that it can actually be done, and we have implemented them. Now, first of all, we would ensure that our senior citizens are paid their pensions and gratuity. So we'll clear the backlog for that. This present government has denied severally that it owes pensions, it owes gratuities. That is not fair. So therefore, whatever it is they say about gratuity and pension now cannot be believed. Mr. Omono cannot promise Akwa Ibom people that he wants to pay pension when indeed.
I'd like to pause on that. Let's take in this reaction. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
good morning. What's your name and where are you joining us from?
Good morning. This is Stanley coming from Kaduna.
All right, thank you for joining us, Stanley. Go ahead with your reaction.
Yeah, please, I want to greet my brother in the studio. I want to thank you, sir, for all you have said about your party, APC. You see, all you politicians, you have deceived us enough with your sweet mouth. This is the same thing APC did in 2014, and Nigeria believed you people and gave you the leadership of the whole Nigeria. And this is where you brought us. You see, politicians, I don't know whether you are different this in Nigeria from us that people are ruling. When you talk to us as if we don't have sense, we don't reason. You are just promising. How are you going to achieve these promises? How are you going to? That is the main point. You say Eta Enang was a founding member of APC in Akwa Ibom because he broke out from PDP when APC was formed in Nigeria. He broke out from PDP, and this very Udofia just resigned from PDP and entered this APC just for how many months ago, and you went and gave him governorship ticket. You know, things in life, when you are doing things, remember tomorrow, because what you are supposed to do might hurt you tomorrow. Eta Enang might be, Springford might say he's not the candidate, he will accept it. But tomorrow, that issue will hurt all of you at probably that time. So what I'm saying, sir, is this. Whoever enters will enter. But we, the poor masses that you people are ruling, we don't believe your sweet mouth because it has deceived us a lot. We can only vote our mind. And we have seen that even our vote doesn't count. If it counts, so if it doesn't count as the other on 15th of February didn't count, there's no problem. There is God, and there is judgment for everything that everyone has been doing on this very earth. All right. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Stanley. Before we get in other reactions, I want you to respond to that because there's a particular thing he said that just took my mind back to a part of the conversation we had earlier on. He said Senator Eta Enang was a founding member of the APC in 2015. I don't know. Let's put this side by side. The APC is a product of the merger of three major political parties before now: the CPC, the ACN, ABGA, and a faction of a People's Democratic Party led by former Senate President Bukola Saraki. And that merger came in 2014 in the lead up to the 2015 election. So if Senator Eta Enang had joined the party at that time, at the time of the formation of the APC, meaning it had evolved from the other parties who came together for that merger, doesn't it make him a founding member of the APC in Akwa Ibom State?
Well, answering that question will be a distraction because I was going to tell you what my candidate wants to do. If you have someone who does not believe in the fact that leadership and governance in Nigeria can evolve to the point where benefits are given back to the people, then that's unfortunate. But that also may be part of our ugly experiences in the past. He says politicians have a sweet mouth. I think Nigerians generally have a sweet mouth. But then, Senator Eta Enang is not a founding member of the APC. I think the senator himself, with respect, due respect to him, would have confirmed that I am a founding member of the APC. I was a member of the AC, the Action Congress. I was a member of the ACN, you know, which became the principal partner in the formation of the APC in mid-2014. I attended the major convention and all the other major activities. If you say Senator Udofia is a founding member of the APC, yes, I agree with you, because he was part of the major convention committee of the party, but definitely not Senator Itanang. Senator Itanang joined the APC when he lost his senatorial ticket to Senator Oba in 2014, and shortly thereafter he joined. And like I said, he was the first beneficiary in the APC in 2015 to be appointed as Senior Special Assistant to President Buhari.
All right, hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, thanks for joining us. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Calling from Kano. My name is Abdul.
Abdul, thanks for joining us from Kano. Go ahead, what's your reaction?
Yeah, thank you very much. That man sitting down with you there, those APC people.
All right, please, we'd like you to address issues. Just address the issue and go straight to your point. Okay, we will not entertain any name calling. Otherwise, we'll have to let you go.
Now, they carry the country. So that is the APC for you. Whether they are doing right, they are supporting their members. They are not feeding the poor man people. They are not feeding them back. Don't reconcile them with the poor people. They are only focused on their self and their family. But what we believe, there is God, and one day we'll leave all this where we are doing.
All right, Abdul, thank you very much indeed for joining us with your concerns. You were following up on the prosperity mantra of Akan Udofia, and I wonder, don't you think the bad feelers that the APC at the national level is generating may rub off on the genuine reasons that individuals like Akan Udofia, who is coming into this ballot on a clean slate, may have to change the course of Akwa Ibom people for good? So you have a very good sellable material, but the platform may be a problem.
Well, platforms of political parties in Nigeria, we don't practice independent candidature, so probably Akan Udofia would have been an independent candidate in the elections, so that he runs on his own personal and private credentials and credibility. But he needs to fly on the platform of a political party to be able to bring to bear his long years of experience and then plans and prospects for the people, and that is why he's here on the APC ticket. Now, the APC, or of course the ticket of any political party for that matter, is not an award or a medal to be hung on the necks of members of the party who are desirous of running elections, whether on account of their age or longevity in the party or whatever. You compete, you contest, you go out there and canvass for votes, you consult, and you campaign to become the candidate of the party. And when you have done that, you also campaign to contest to become the winner, whether it's governor or president. So the APC has done its bit. There are obvious failings here, sectoral failings here and there, but I think Nigerians have also still kept faith with the party. The groundswell of support and opinion may differ, going by the figures we have in the last presidential elections, but then it also shows that to a very large extent the party still has the support of Nigerians, probably to take another shot. But now, coming back to Akwa Ibom State, I have said that we're going to be attending very seriously to the issue of welfare of our senior citizens, those people who worked 35 years of their active lives and then have been abandoned by government. There is a concrete plan to ensure that the backlog of pensions and gratuities are cleared. So also with those who are in service. In fact, what the candidate has promised and which he's going to do is that we're going to have in the days of the rest, you will ensure that in December of every year, you have a double salary, just to aid in meeting up with the demands of the festivities and so on and so forth, and then to also assist so that in January, as schools resume, parents, guardians can send their wards to school a lot more easily. And you see, it showed that you had a government that had empathy for the people, that listened to the people and had their feelings, you know, at the back of his mind, to ensure that they fared better. You don't have that happening now. We have to go back to that level where we can restore the integrity of our families. Our families must form the bedrock of our society. If you have families that can barely fend for themselves, then you have a dysfunctional society. That is where unemployment starts from. That is where criminality starts from, and social vices. And we must address these. Now, we're going to the issue of healthcare. In a state like ours, you can't be talking about tertiary healthcare institutions when you have not addressed primary healthcare. Now, you have a primary healthcare center located close to this place on the Wellington Bassey Way on your way to Government House. And if you go there as I speak, there is permanently a lantern. Even if it is 12 midday, you have a lantern there. So when it is night, the entire facility is in darkness. And that facility is meant to cater for pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, young children, and so on and so forth. But you see that since adequate attention is not paid to that sector of our healthcare delivery system, we have issues. I have a personal experience with handling issues relating to traditional birth attendants. You will be shocked that in 2023, you still have societies or sections of our society in Akwa Ibom State where women still prefer to go to traditional birth attendants because they cannot afford the basics in healthcare delivery. We are narrowing that back to the healthcare delivery system. Now, you see, the advantages of having primary healthcare, like was espoused in the mid-80s when Professor Luke Ransom Kuti was Minister of Health, is that it helps to tackle the basic elements that you find in every family. Children, mother-to-child ailments, ailments that are traceable to young children in the home, and so on and so on. Once you cannot tackle that definitively, you can't begin to talk about more complicated ailments. And that is why you find that even though there was a promise by this government to digitalize operations in our general hospitals, those general hospitals are still a shadow of themselves. Now, we are dealing with the issues of unemployment. Unemployment is in Akwa Ibom State, going by the NBS statistics or figures, is about 51%. 51%. And we're dealing with issues of unemployment and then unemployability of even the workforce in the unemployment market. So you have people that, though they are unemployed, they are not even qualified to work. So once you are able to close the gap between those who are on the lowest side of the ladder, the poor people, and then those who are at the topmost, because the entire middle class is eroded. And that's why
the state government has discredited severally the reports by the embassies on most of these indices. And they've equally claimed that a bulk of the menaces that you have already identified were largely inherited from the previous administration, whose Ham of Affairs was largely on the footsteps of Senator Goswell.
But this is 8 years. Today. This is 8 years down the road. This is 8 years down the road. In 2000, when the COVID came and the NCDC was reeling out figures, of course, we disputed figures that were known and seen and clear. I mean, the former Commissioner for Health, Dr. Ukbong, got into this argument with the leadership of the NCDC, disputing figures, even when these figures were clear. So we have a history of disputing figures that are unfavorable. But the truth of the matter is that on a Monday morning, you have youths wearing multicolored t-shirts sponsored by the PDP government in Akwa Ibom State running around political rallies. If they are gainfully employed, you won't find them loitering around the place, loitering around the homes of politicians. And we are saying that we ought to be able to take our people off the streets and get them gainfully employed so that you can reduce the tension you find in political seasons like this. We are talking about employment generation. So you need to activate those processes. We are talking about MBC statistics. The statistics also show that our debt profile in this state is something in the region of, I think, over 200 billion. And that same statistics also showed that we have received in the last 8 years sums running into trillions, including loans we continue to collect, including sums we have collected from refunds from the presidency, which we have concealed. And the question is, what have we done with these funds? To the extent that it is now an election, it's an election week, and you have government scampering around the place to tell stories of complete failings. And that's why we say that the PDP gubernatorial candidate cannot be telling Akwa Ibom people about continuity, because we cannot continue in penury and suffering and agony brought about by a government that is unfeeling.
Okay, we're wrapping up in the next couple of minutes, so I'd like to turn our sights now to the electioneering proper this weekend. The February 25 polls appeared to have been an eyesore on the part of most Nigerians, because it did not live up to pre-elections expectations by most Nigerians that it would be free, fair and credible across board. Yes, of course, we have pockets of cases where people reported that elections did go as planned, but across the country it was equally marred by massive irregularities, alleged manipulation of results, failure by INEC to hit to the guidelines stipulated in the Electoral Act, and so many other factors. This has led to most persons saying they're quite disinterested in the entire electoral processes, that a good number of them have said they may not even want to come out on March 11th. So we have a bigger problem of voter apathy on our hands come this weekend. What message would you have to those Nigerians who felt largely dissatisfied by INEC's performance on February 25, that such incidents would not repeat themselves again on March 11? What's your trust based on INEC now?
Well, we must continue to be hopeful that INEC would live up to its bidding. Do we go home to sleep and allow INEC to say it is carrying out its duties? No. So it means that we all have to be alert. We all have to be vigilant. You may have a commission that is well-intentioned. You have a commission that puts down laws and regulations that are beautiful on paper, but when it comes to actual implementation, that is where the problem lies. So yes, the last elections threw up obvious lapses, but do we abandon the entire process and then allow politicians have a field day? There are politicians who are averse to anything correct, anything right. There are people who are geniuses when it comes to circumventing processes, you know, and beating red lines. So we all must be alert. I call on all agents of political parties. Here in the state, we know those who have been creating those upsets and creating the ugly experiences we've had. We're already hearing stories about compromises by some members of the Electoral Commission. In fact, we heard a confirmed report on the day of the election on the 25th that some persons were arrested in military uniforms alongside some INEC staff with sensitive materials in a vehicle, in a bus. I think the PPRO of the police also confirmed that that was true. But I mean, after that, we have not heard where are those people, where is the vehicle, who owns the vehicle, where are the people who impersonated security agencies. We saw pictures of people in military uniforms wearing bathroom slippers and so on and so forth, and who were also armed, going around the state, falsifying results, hijacking materials. But you see, we can't say that because these illegalities take place, so we throw in the towel well in advance. We have, in the APC, for instance, decided that we must be very, very, very alert and vigilant. We have told all our agents we must scrutinize the BVAS machines. We hear that they are being manipulated as we speak. We will scrutinize all the ballot papers that are allocated to polling units, count and confirm that they are intact and complete. We hear that, I mean, thumb printing is taking place. We also hear that even in some areas, the BVAS machines were bypassed and results allocated on this Form EC8 series forms. We hear that in some collation centers, figures were also falsified. But what I am confident about is that in the long run, there will be an opportunity for a forensic analysis of all of these processes when eventually we get to the election tribunals, whether for elections that are passed or even for the ones that are to come. So we'll continue to call on the Electoral Commission to live up to its billing and be fair and neutral in this contest, and allow all political parties the opportunity of a fair contest.
Interesting thoughts indeed. Thank you so very much, Barrister Mopan, for joining us on Political Spectrum today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Thanks for joining us as well. The countdown continues to the March 11 showdown, where Nigerians are expected to go out again in droves, this time to elect governors and members of their respective constituents in the state houses of assemblies across the country on March 11. Don't forget, you can join us for a special election coverage on Saturday and Sunday as we bring you up to speed with all the events around the March 11 polls this Saturday and the collation from the INEC headquarters here in New York, while we keep our eyes fixated on other events happening across the country. But that's the size of Political Spectrum for today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Join us again if you can. From me, Raymond Ita, and the rest of the crew. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.